Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the DJ Sessions Presents the Virtual Sessions. I'm your host Darren, and right now I'm in the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington, and coming in from Los Angeles, we have Christopher Lawrence today. Christopher, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you doing, Darren?
Great, man. It's been a long time since I have had you on the show in the hot seat. And now I got you with more and more questions, no behind the stage stuff. We're in the virtual sessions. And I love this because now I don't have to wait for you to come to Seattle. But the coolest thing is you're going to be coming to Seattle.
I will be there this Saturday, December 3rd, and I'll be at Aura. I'm super excited. My first time playing at Aura. But Seattle, I've been playing there for 20 years now. And so I've got a long history, lots of friends. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. So, yeah.
Well, is Christopher Lawrence going to make it out for Christopher Lawrence for this one?
I haven't seen him in a while. I hope he's there.
I haven't, I have not seen him in a while. I'm friends with him on Facebook because, I think he's down in Portland, though. I think he's based out of Portland. Maybe. Because he
used to be in Seattle, and every time I went, it was the weirdest thing that there was a guy with the exact same name.
Yeah. Aura Nightclub is definitely one of our premier nightclubs in Seattle. So congratulations on that booking. They really just opened up 2 more rooms there. So it's like a 4-room nightclub now in the heart of Belltown. And they got everything finally dialed in. Amani has done a lot of work there. Eric with the In Motion Productions, Eric and Carrie have done a lot of work there, bringing in some of the world's top talent. So it's super excited that you're going to be playing there. Is this a part of a tour that you're doing, or is it a kind of one-off booking?
One-off, yeah, just a special one-off date. And so, yeah. And then, like I said, I went through, yeah, like their calendar of the talent they've got coming up and who they've had recently. It's amazing. And it's just constant every week, just really good lineups.
And without me being able to say anything, I can just let people know the hint that there are extra rooms there that are now open, that are dialed in, and they all work well together. There's going to be a lot more coming out of Aura Nightclub. And you can also find out all the Aura Nightclub's events at thedjsessions.com on the events calendar. But when was the last time you think you actually played Seattle? When was that?
I'm trying to think. It was one of the last shows I did. It was shortly before the COVID shut everything down. So yeah, it was probably in 2019, end of 2019, awesome. Beginning of 2020.
Well, not much has changed up here. It's still right now overcast and wet with the snowpocalypse on the minds of everyone, but it's just wet downtown Seattle.
Is it supposed to snow this weekend?
Yeah, well, they said the town always gets kind of a little crazy when the weather people report snow. But, I live downtown Seattle pretty close to the water, so it snows, it turns to wet. I mean, it has to snow to get snow here. But apparently in other areas there were large flakes, but it's all turned to slush by now. So we're back to our regular wet roads. That's how it goes. But, some of the things that you've been up to other than playing shows, playing out, you have kind of 2 projects that work hand in hand together. You have Pharmacy Radio, and then you have Pharmacy Music. Tell our DJ Sessions fans about Pharmacy Radio.
Pharmacy Radio is my monthly podcast. I've been doing that this December will be the 77th episode. And prior to that, I was doing Rush Hour because I rebranded. I've been doing that. I don't know. I did 100 episodes of Rush Hour, and then I rebranded it to Pharmacy Radio because I wanted to give a spotlight to the artists on my label, Pharmacy Music. And so with the rebranding, what I did is I would do an hour. It's a 2-hour podcast, and so I do the first hour, and I do a mix of like progressive house, techno, into psytrance, sort of like if I was doing an extended set or an open to close. And I start out with progressive house and then build in 1 hour, like a 122 BPM to 140. And And then the second hour is a focus on a pharmacy artist. And usually what I do is I sync it up with who's got releases coming out. So for example, last month, Infinex, he's one of our best new artists on pharmacy. So he would take over, and then he gets a 1 hour spotlight, on pharmacy radio. So that's that's the idea behind it.
Awesome. But you talked about the history of your podcast going back in Rush Hour, correct? Does that go all the way back to 2008?
It would go back further than, 100 episodes was, I guess, 8 years. And then this is another 7 years, 17. So yeah, it must go back to 2005, 2006. You're right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cause I was looking on the site and I saw it went all the way back to 2008. And, I was doing podcasts for my broadcast television show in 2005, 2009. And then we got into the live streaming. So a lot of people don't know our site, even though it's a live streaming series, the DJ sessions, the back end of it all is a podcast series.
Oh, really?
Subscribe to. Yeah. And we just use the RSS aggregators to bring all the content into our website, about automation and websites. We'll be talking about that in a few moments. But it's just so awesome that podcasting is still heralded by the industry leaders as one of those last bastion freedom frontiers. You don't necessarily, almost like public access in a way. YouTube kind of blew the public access market out of the water because public access, I started in public access back in 92.
Did you?
And you could get a 30-minute time slot or a 1 hour time slot. It can only air in the county that you lived in. And once it aired, it was gone. It's like broadcast TV. It airs and it's there. You can replay it and rerun it if you wanted to. But, once YouTube came out around 2004, 2005, it gave all these producers a way to distribute content, and audio podcasting was there for a long time. Went from the blog then to the audio blog, which became the podcast once the podcasting came out. And then it became the video podcast once the video iPod came out. And then later on, 2007, you got the phone comes out. Now we can all watch videos on our phone wherever we want to in the world. It's just been an interesting progression of doing that. What was your choice of making it a 2-hour show as opposed to, say, a 1 hour show?
I think because initially I was offered a 2-hour slot on digitally important DIFM, and they offered me a 2-hour slot. And so I decided I would just do a 2-hour podcast, and then I would keep that consistent across SoundCloud and it was iTunes. Now it's old podcasts, but yeah. And the thing was I didn't want to do 2 hours of just myself. Plus, I thought people would get bored, and so I began always having a guest mix, and that was, and it was other DJs and that I met on the road. But a lot of times, what I like to do is focus on resident DJs, because I was playing, because back at that time there was the internet, but it wasn't to the level that it is now. And so a lot of times there was really talented resident DJs, but the rest of the world didn't get to experience them unless they went to that city, whereas international DJs or national DJs, we tour around, so people see us all the time. But there's amazing DJs that held down nights at nightclubs, and they were the backbone. Without them, they were the full foundation, of the club. And you can have a good, guest DJ, you can have a bad guest DJ, but you could always count on the resident to hold the floor, and that he was there to take over after the guest left. So anyway, I like to focus on a lot of the resident DJs and give them a showcase. And this things developed, and my label got bigger. Then it became a transition to showcasing the artists on the label. But I still, there, 2 episodes ago, I focused on a DJ based in Chicago, Thomas Kelly, who's a resident DJ, and the guy opens for everybody that plays. He just opened for Paul Van Dyke. He played with Vinny Vici. he plays with everybody that comes into town. And so I thought it's a good opportunity to showcase someone like that, So I went back to that thing of showcasing, residents.
Yeah, that was actually one of the original concepts of the DJ sessions. Was I saw all my friends that would never get into video production. There were DJs in the clubs and partying with them, hanging out with them for years. They would never get into video production. They'd never get into live streaming. They'd probably never get into podcasting. So I said, I got all this gear here collecting dust. What if I start making this show? And I just was bouncing the idea around 2009. And we stuck to 1 hour sets. Each DJ, it was kind of like a showcase, and they each would get a 1 hour set, but we go for 4 hours long in a live stream, but then break out the episodes in 1 hour sets. It wasn't just till recently that we took our resident DJs and said, when you play on the show now, if it's an external, like if I say, hey, Christopher, would you like to play a guest mix on the DJ sessions? It'd be a 1 hour guest mix. Yeah, but for our residents, when we do our shows now, we do 2 hour sets.
Oh, wow.
Just to give them a little bit more range to go with it. Because we were set up to produce so much content. I kind of go full bore with things. I think we were talking a little pre-show about how much content we generate a month and what we're ramping up to generate. Because the internet kind of has that unlimited corridor, it isn't like putting on a broadcast show and got 1 hour a week or 2 hours a week, or, maybe we're on BBC One or something and you get 1 hour a week with all the other guest slots that you have to put that in there with. But love the fact that you're doing that. I think that's a great concept, a great way to showcase the artist on multiple levels. And you said that you just did the latest is Infinex is the latest release. Does he have a show scheduled on Pharmacy Radio?
Yeah. Infinex, he's got a new track out, Duality. Everybody go check it out. It's really good. It's one of our best releases this year. And but yeah, he was my showcase. I guess it was the October. He was the October guest. And so yeah, but then you can go back. It's all on SoundCloud. It's on YouTube. It's in Apple Podcasts, and people can go back and check it out. And that's the other thing is you can go back and look and see who was on there. Because, like, for example, Vinny Vici, when they had just formed that project, it must have been in like about 2011, 2012. I had them guess because I just heard that they had something. They were mixing like old school progressive house with psychedelic trance. And I reached out to him and I said, I love the project that you guys are starting. This is really good. And they've guested several times over the last 10 years. And so I'm really proud that, I was there at the beginning and heard them, and they've been gracious enough to appear. As they've gotten bigger and bigger, they haven't, they've stayed loyal to the people that have been around. And so I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those awesome things when you get a gem, that comes on the show and then they become really successful later on. They're like, I remember you back in the day. I remember that good times and that, that good breaking bread, reaching out, getting outside your comfort zone, meeting people in the industry, I think is obviously something that I love to do, and networking and now using it the way like this, doing a live stream interview, taking it up to that next level. I mean, you didn't have to get into too much complication of using OBS. Love OBS. Didn't have to get on location and get down to LA to get the interview with you, or get up here and get 10 minutes in the green room with you here. Don't mind the sirens. They're not coming for me. I just live on one of the busiest street corners in downtown Seattle, which they like to use as a thoroughfare. I think it's going that way though. So we should only get one siren going that way. Usually it's the police going this way. And they're going down.
That's okay, because I'm just waiting for my dogs to blow up.
Awesome. So speaking about being online, radio shows, having a label of that, how important is it for a DJ producer to have a website?
It used to be like that you had to have a website. That was the way that you kind of communicated with people, or how you connected when you weren't in their city. Then social media kind of took over as far as like that instant connection with people. But I still find that you have to have a website. And the reason is it's like the center of everything. And then from there, people can find like your very social media, handles. And so you can go from the website, you can link to the Instagram, the Facebook, if anybody's still using that. I use it because it's good for like promoting events. But I think people mostly move to Instagram. But anyway, the thing, back to the website. And then like from there, then they can find like your SoundCloud page, and you can find all the different things. So I think a website's extremely important. It's the hub from where everything else spins out.
Yeah, I remember Johnny Monsoon had taken me to yours back in around 2009, 2010. It was like a pink. It was pink in color from what I remember. Was it a pink kind of pink
Light
neon?
Blue. Pink and light blue.
Light blue. It was really sharp. I mean, it was like, now this is a website. This is an artist website. It's really awesome. How many versions have you had since your first version of website? Do you remember how many different versions you've gone through over the years?
I've had 3 main ones. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm trying to remember. Yeah. In fact, I was one of the first DJs to have a website. And it was because my brother-in-law, he worked in Australia in the telecom community and for Telstra. And they were one of the first people developing websites over in Australia because they were a phone company. And he designed it for me. And it was amazing because it had a little flash like picture in it that changed. And that was like really exciting. Now it'd be nothing. But yeah, so I had that. I think Paul Van Dyke was the first. And I was like one of the second or third DJs to have a website. And then after that, his name, I'm getting a blank. The person that did my new website, I'm so sorry, I can't remember your name right now. But he got awards for developing in Flash and used to teach Flash classes and stuff. And so my website was absolutely amazing. And I held on to that forever. I just didn't want to lose it. But I then kind of did one of my own. And it was because you could now bring content, like, for example, like Beatport. You could actually link in the website directly to Beatport tracks. So they would play in your website. It's just it changed. There was the HTML, I guess. What was the new type of website? It went from Flash to
HTML3 or?
Yeah, HTML3. And so, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. I'm going to Wayback Machine right now, see if I can pull up some of that. I got your first one up here. It's pretty cool with the little green stripe at the top. Christopher Lawrence over here. I'm going to try to do a screenshot on this if I can. Oh, this is awesome. I want to see if I can find the pink and neon purple blue one.
Is there an archive of websites?
Yeah, it's called the Wayback Machine.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And you can go back. So let's go back, see if I can pull up in 2010, March 12th, 2010 at 10:50 a.m. Let's see if I can pull this up and it's not giving me the right ones. But yes, there's an awesome thing you can do where you can pull up the Wayback Machine and if it archived it. And usually it's usually pretty good at archiving this, but for some reason I'm not able to pull up. I wanted to pull it up, darn it. And let's see if I can pull up this one from 2014.
That's probably my current one.
Probably, yeah. Oh, I see what's happening here. Oh, well, I'll maybe get to it in a little bit. In addition to having a website, how important is it to have merch?
I've got my pharmacy hoodie on. I think it is important because it's funny, like, because I like merch. Like, I have a Nano Records shirt. I'm a fanboy of Nano Records. That's one of my favorite labels. And I think it's a way to connect with, you know, your fans, to connect with people that you know, like your music, or like the label, or, you know. And so, yeah, I think it's not imperative to have merch, but for me, it's just, I don't push it on people, but I like to have it available, because people like to, it's a way to share and be a part of. It's like how I said, like I've got, you know, hoodies and shirts from other labels, and it's a way, I don't know, it's like you really like that label and you like the music on it, and so you get the shirt, and it's I don't know, it's a way, it's just another way of connecting. And so I like to have, you know, things available, you know, for people. And it's cool when you play, like when I play a party and I look out and I see people wearing like Pharmacy shirts, or, you know, like they'll have a Christopher Lawrence shirt. It makes you smile. It's really cool.
I just remembered that Adobe Flash is no longer supported. So I did find your websites in the Wayback Machine, but none of them will work on it because it was built in Flash. And I do remember that company, Two Advanced Studios, that did your website.
Yes. And they were,
oh, wow, they did some amazing work.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, back to merch story. I've been telling one of my friends this recently, and obviously you're wearing the Pharmacy logo on your shirt, that, you know, a way that they could promote is, you know, don't wear somebody else's t-shirt on stage. Get your own t-shirt and put your own name, put your own branding on it. That way when people take pictures, they know who it is in the picture. I'm in advertising, and it's like, why would I give somebody, I mean, Mackey's one of our sponsors, so yeah. But you know, I also said this, put a QR code on the back of your shirt. That way when you turn around, it hits your website, it's your link tree, it hits what you're supposed to be promoting. Or if you got now with all the LED screens in the background, you know, incorporate your logo with a QR code in that LED screen that's playing in the background, so people know what to do. They finally know what to do. We were using QR codes in 2010. People thought I was muy loco because I was talking about this QR code thing and how cool it's going to be, and it's going to change the world. You're going to take your phone and you're going to point it. You're going to be able to, instead of like handing out a CD, you can point it to the QR code. You don't have to type anything. It'll take you to the website page, and all your tracks will be right there. You can listen to your tracks and all that fun stuff. And people thought I was crazy. And I'm like, now everyone knows how to use a QR code, which is pretty awesome. You know, have you always been a producer or DJ, or did you have jobs before you got into producing and DJs? And what were some of those jobs, if you did?
I did have jobs. The first job I had, I went to UC Berkeley, and I got a degree in English Lit, and I also studied philosophy. So those are both non-marketable skills. When you graduate, there's nothing. And so I remember my first job was blowing parking lots. I needed work, and so my neighbor, he had a business where he cleaned parking lots at night. And so we'd get up at like 1 a.m, and I'd strap a blower on, and he had the truck that sucked all the garbage up, and I blew the stuff out into the middle of the parking lots, and he sucked it up. That was my first job out of college. Then I worked for an interior design company in San Francisco, and I worked for them. And that's when I started DJing. And that was back in 1991. I was working for them, and I started DJing, and that was the crossover job, because I started playing a little bit more than I was, and making about the same as what I was doing at the job. And that's when I just quit. I said, that's it. I'm gonna, it was sort of like a make or break. I'm gonna do the DJing. If it turns out, it turns out. If not, I can always go back to blowing parking lots or something.
Is the first record you ever bought worth mentioning, or is it embarrassing?
Are you talking about like when I was a little kid?
The first record you bought in 91, when you got out there, you had to get vinyl.
Okay, not when I was like 6 years old.
No. When you started DJing.
Right. No, because I don't know what the first one was, because I started out collecting, you know, like back then you you didn't have Apple Music or you didn't have Spotify. You actually, if you liked music, you had to go to record stores and buy records. That's the only way you could hear it. There weren't even radio stations playing the music that we listen to now. There was no webs, there was no internet. There was no internet. Yeah. And so I used to go to the local record stores in San Francisco, and they sold it. They originally were disco record stores because they were selling to the DJs that were playing disco in San Francisco. But then they started getting, they'd start having a section that had two sections, house music and techno. And house music had vocals, techno did not have vocals. And everything just kind of went into techno. There was breakbeats in techno, there was techno that was techno. And then it's like trance started evolving and progressive house coming out of Germany. You had this trance coming out and it was called techno. And that was like for the first few years, that's what it was. And so I don't know really what my first was because I was just collecting a lot of that. And then that's how I ended up becoming a DJ. So I was collecting it and my friends were going, dude, you got all this music and nobody's playing the stuff that you're playing. You should really. So yeah, I went to a guitar store and they had DJ equipment. They were just getting stuff in. So I bought some equipment, started playing the records that I already had. And yeah, but I'll tell you the track that I learned to mix on. It was Moby, and the track was called Go. And it's a track called Go by Moby. And it was
which one that is.
And it was a DJ, he was a DJ at one of the record stores. He worked at the record store that I used to buy the records at. And his name was Timothy. And after the store closed, he showed me how to match two beats that were on a turntable. And he gave me 2 copies of Moby Go and said, just keep playing these until you can make them play in sync exactly in the same time. And that was my practice records, Moby Go.
I've never heard of that. I've been doing this DJ show for 13 years, nightclubbing for 30 plus years. I've never heard about that method of trying to learn how to DJ just by syncing the same 2 songs.
Yeah, same 2 songs. That was his thing, is because if you had 2 different tracks, his thing was you wanted the exact same 2 because you could learn the phrasing of it and you could learn, yeah.
That makes sense. Plus the BPM would be the same, but you're on vinyl.
The BPM is the same. That was the other thing, is so you didn't have to work with the pitch controls. You could put them both at 0. And you didn't have to worry about matching the BPM at first. It was the most important thing is just getting the tracks in time together, like, releasing the first one so it lands on the beat of the other one. And then, then learning the phrasing. And then after that, learning the phrasing, then you could move to using 2 different tracks because then you would have to work the pitch fader.
Do you think more DJs should learn music theory, or does that matter much when it comes to dance music and mixing tracks?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't. I had some music instruction when I was younger, but it really, in a sense, yeah, it helps if somebody explains what's happening in a record so that usually there's 32 beats, in a phrase, or 32 bars in a phrase, and that, how the phrasing works, that there's 4 beats in a measure, but really everything's in 2-bar measurements, so it's 8 beats. And so yeah, it helps if somebody can explain that basic kind of stuff to you and explain about keys so that you don't mix 2 tracks where the melodies clash. But you don't have to know a lot because you can pick that up just by playing. I'm sure everybody out there is a DJ themselves.
Not me.
Now, but you can tell when 2 tracks they're out of key. It just sounds bad when the melodies are playing together. And so I think a lot of it you can just pick up naturally. You know,
Mhm.
you just go, oh, these tracks sound bad together. I won't play them together. So the music theory isn't as important. If you're going into production, yes, music theory becomes more important. And but even then, it, there's now applications that, you know, like when you play your melody into, I still use the quantizing and you can quantize the melodies as well as like you play, and then you can just go and like on Logic, it'll shift your notes to get them so that it's in the key that you want. So yeah, I think you can really play by ear now with the help of, you know, the DAWs, the way that they work now.
Hmm. And I mean, even Record Box will give you the key. You don't have to use mixed in key anymore, and that kind of helps out. And all the technological advances that have happened over the last, I mean, that's going back 30 some odd years. You know, where did records even label what key they were in, or they'd give you a BPM? They wouldn't back then.
They didn't give you a BPM, and that's why I had a stopwatch, and it was called
Yeah.
a pitch pipe. And one is I'd take all my records when I got home from the record store, and you'd play it, and then you'd have a stopwatch, and on the first beat you'd start the watch, and you'd count how many beats there were in 60 seconds. So you go, okay, it's 124 BPM, and then I'd have stickers, and I'd write 124, that's the BPM. Then I would play the track at zero with the fader in the lid at the center point, and then it was this pitch pipe. It was a round. It's almost like a harmonica that's round, and each
I know what
note.
you're talking. Okay, yeah.
They play the different notes from A sharp, you know, B, C sharp, and you blow it until when you blew it on one of those notes, it sounded like it was it sounded right with the track, and then you go, okay, that's a C sharp, and then you write, that's a C sharp. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And so you do that for all your tracks. You know, you know what the BPM and you'd know what the key was. But the thing is even though you knew what the key was, is if it was 124 BPM and the next track was the same key, but it was 128 BPM, one of those tracks was going to have the pitch changed because you were moving the fader to get the BPM to match. So it's no longer that those two C sharps are no longer going to match because you've moved the pitch fader. And
Yes.
so a C sharp, if you slow it down, well, maybe now it's a B or something. And so I don't really know why I went through the hassle of figuring out, because now like on the CDJ, you can lock it so that the pitch doesn't change. So if you're going to play something and then they're within a couple BPMs of each other, then that's fine. It'll stay in key. But back then you had no way of doing that. And so the keys just fluctuated anyway. So it was really just trial and error.
That is awesome and sounds excruciating to have to go through that process, especially did you do that to all the records that are behind you right there?
In fact, I'll show you. Like they got the little BPM on there.
That's crazy. Have you ever experimented with mixing audio and video at the same time? And if not, would that be something you'd want to do in the future?
When you say audio with video, what do you mean?
I guess with the advent of technology, you know, you could take, say, you download a YouTube video. You, instead of going to Beat Source or Track Source or Beatport or wherever you're downloading your tracks from, and you're now downloading the video of that track, and you have a video player, and now you're mixing the video and syncing video with video based on the audio. Obviously, it's with it, and making a visual performance based out of these two tracks that are kind of like mixing together. I've seen it done, a few instances of it done in the past where DJs have taken like the Eurythmics and Eminem and they've mixed the videos together. One of our resident DJs, Disco Vinny, he does this with a lot of his tracks. He'll go in and make these video mixes where he's mixing it live and it's one track into the next track.
Do the videos play over each other? Like when the Like it's actually just two individual videos and they start blending, or does he mix the video as well?
It's yeah, I guess what I should, the audio gets mixed, but then he has a way to like transform the video one out of the other. So
Okay,
you may
yeah,
be
yeah,
listening
yeah, I
to,
see what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It'll do a transition between them. It's not
yeah,
like
do
he's
a transition between them.
a video ahead of time that goes along with the music. It's the
I guess
actual
that could be
videos,
done.
the video that goes with it. Like if you're playing a Taylor Swift song, you're going to see Taylor Swift in it, and
Correct.
so you'd be mixing it. Yeah, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah, you mix the next song in and then you transfer it out.
but it worked better if, well, especially for dance music tracks, because there's no vocalist, so you could really have people could make creative videos. You know, I'm just thinking like off the top of my head, like fractals or something, and so you're mixing it. So they look good as they transition between each other. Yeah, it'd be kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's going to be interesting what comes out in the next few years. It wasn't. I think Pioneer made a video mixer. I haven't seen it too much out on the market. A lot of people are going for the 3000s nowadays, but the you know, they have an actual video mixer that has a screen on it, I believe, that lets you video mix with it. But I guess there's other software out there that allow you to do the same thing as well for a much lower price point. Nothing against Pioneer, just you know, just some really cool stuff. But switching over to a label side of conversation, what's the most important thing that record labels should do for their artists, and are they doing a good job with that?
Well, I'll tell you, okay, the number one thing, and labels, listen to me. This is why I started my own label. Pay your artists their royalties. Give them their money. They've given you their tracks. They've worked really hard for those tracks. It doesn't matter how much money it is. You know, if it's a couple $100 that they've earned, give them their money. It happened to me. The one of the main labels that I was on when I began, you know, producing, I had no idea that there was publishing money that came in from doing your music, and they took all my publishing, and I didn't find out about it until they went bankrupt, and I lost out on a lot of money because vinyl, you actually did make money producing. You could make a tidy sum. You could make, you know, $5,000 or $10,000 off a release.
Oh, wow.
Now not so much, but it was because of that I decided I don't want to give my music to somebody else. I want to have control over it. And so that's what I did. And I made it. It was my vow that the artists on my label, I would split the money with them. The label would get 50%, they would get 50%, and I would pay them the royalties. And it would be totally transparent, because I think it's the worst thing to do to an artist, especially today when you don't make a lot of money. And producing is almost, I mean, it's something that you do because you have to, you want to make the music, and it's a passion of love, but also it's promotion, because that's what allows a producer or a DJ to then get bookings and play, because that's how you're going to make your money. You will not get rich making singles. That's just not going to happen. You know, like, it's not possible for a producer to sit and just make, unless he's ghostwriting or something for other people, you know, and he's making money doing that. But so the number one thing is, I think labels need to pay the royalties to the artist. Don't screw them over. And then second is, make sure to promote the releases, you know, promote it across all social media, you know, stay in contact with the artists, remind them to promote. Sometimes guys just forget, and they forget that their release date is coming, and that, you know, so you want to kind of hit everything simultaneously. That's really what it is. And also, I mean, I guess because I run the label, so I do the A&R, and I interact directly with the artist. And I think it's important to give them feedback on the tracks, because, you know, like artists, they're working on something, they send it in, and if it's something that's really great, you know, I might just accept it as it is, or I might have like some advice of maybe try doing this. Then there's other tracks that they send, and instead of just saying no, I'm totally uninterested, I might hear and I would go, you know what, if they do these changes, if they do something, this might make it better. Or it's in something that they can go back and work on a new track with those new, those new ideas, or, like things that I've told them are their strong points, and focus on that. And I think that's important, is to, encourage the artist on your label and help them and give them, suggestions and feedback. And also what I do a lot with my label is I encourage them to remix each other, because then remix swaps don't cost anything. You're not paying somebody to do a remix because, like, for example, if you did a track and I say, okay, I'll remix you, Darren, and then when I do my track, if you remix me, and that helps it helps the artist, because one is then the release has two versions coming out. You've got the original, and then you've got a second one. So and so you've got two tracks for people to choose from. Also, it allows, that the artist that's doing the release, maybe somebody does a very good remix, and it bumps up the interest in the track. So it benefits both, and it's a symbiotic relationship. So I encourage that with my guys. And there's a lot of artists that I have on my label that are based in the Los Angeles area. We have a really good group of guys making psychedelic trance here, and they work really well together. They do a lot of that, like remixing each other tracks and stuff. So
well, I think it's good just for co-collaboration as well. People introducing and never knowing who you meet and who you become best friends with, and who you go and support shows. And it's like, wow, I'm working on this. You want to come play this show? And next thing you know, you're lifelong friends, and you're working on track. You start working on tracks together. I think that's a great idea, Christopher, that kind of collaboration effort, to see that it helps. Again, it just strengthens your brand too as a label. Your team is working together as well. I'm going to take that under advisement when we launch our label.
Unless I became best friends with, there's two artists on my label, Fergie and Sadrian, and they recorded. It's Fergie and Sadrian, and they're based in Buenos Aires in Argentina. And they were one of the earliest artists on the label, and I really liked them. And I used to play in Argentina, so we started collaborating. When I would go down there, we'd work on tracks together, and we've become friends for the must be the last 15 years. We've been doing stuff together, I love it.
Awesome. Do you have any other aliases other than Christopher Lawrence that you produce under which you release music?
No, everything's always been under Christopher Lawrence.
What would be the benefit of obviously keeping it branded under Christopher Lawrence, but why would somebody want to rebrand? Is that typically because they want to switch genres and they want to, I'm known as a house producer here, but I want to produce trance, and I don't want people to get confused with my branding. Is that one of the reasons why?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's why a lot of times you'll see artists do something like they've always been a trance DJ, and then, Big Room becomes popular, so suddenly they become a Big Room DJ. And then Big Room's not so popular, so they become a techno DJ. And they have three different names because they've gone through three different genres. But yeah, but even if like you're, like you are a really good, credible producer, you might want to just keep them separate. And yeah, like I knew a guy, his name was Chris Coe, who was a phenomenal producer. Maybe put out a quarter of the tracks under his name, but he did like 100 other tracks, and he just did every track under a different name. And I never understood it, because he never got the respect that he deserved, because each track was under a different pseudonym, and people would love that artist, or they love this artist, and nobody ever knew it was him. And so I think it dilutes you a little bit, like if you're releasing under 17 different names, But yeah, I've contemplated, because I've been working on some progressive house tracks, like kind of progressive, not progressive like what it is today, but like the progressive trance, what it used to be like in the 2000s. And I don't know whether to release that under Christopher Lawrence, because people are going to think, oh, is it going to be harder psychedelic type trance or whatever? And so I have thought of using another name like CL2000, because that's the vibe of the stuff. So I don't know, that might come out.
What defines success for you?
I guess connecting with people on the dance floor. For me, that's the ultimate thing. Is it's when I play, I'm bringing what I think are the best tracks to the show, and I've got my like menu of the best tracks that I have at that time to play to people, and I love these tracks, and so I want to share them. I think of myself more as a conduit. Like my job is to scour the planet to find great music, and then to bring that together and to share it with people. And so when I play, if I can see people responding to that music, then I feel like I've done my job, that I've successfully found extremely talented producers that have made music and brought that and shared it with people that want to listen to that music. And when I see that happen, that's, to me, it doesn't matter how many people are in front of me, it's how they respond to the music that I'm playing. And to me, if people are having a good time, that's success.
Mm-hmm. Was the biggest crowd you ever played for also your best crowd?
No.
That's
the thing is, and also like you're only as good as the show you're playing right now or mm-hmm. your last show, because all the other ones, because it doesn't, when you're playing, the only thing that matters is those people in front of you right now and the music that's coming out of the speakers right now. You could have played for 10,000 people last night and now be playing to 200 people in an intimate club. The only thing that matters right now is those 200 people in front of you. And so it's not the numbers, it's the connection. There've been festivals that I've played where there's, maybe 20,000 or 30,000 people in front, and it's been phenomenal. They're all just rocking, and that's an incredible experience. But there's also been parties that I've played like out in the desert, and there's 200 people, but they're just fully feeling it, and that's just a unique experience, because that's actually harder. Because when you're playing a festival, you've got that it's a synergistic effect. There's that energy already built up, and people want to have a good time. And when everybody's having a good time and they're seeing everybody alongside them, that's an easy crowd. That's actually an easy crowd to, as long as you play good music and the energy's there. It's when there's fewer people in front of you that's way harder, because you have to really play well and find what they want and to connect and to keep that crowd in front of you. That to me, that's the biggest challenge, and that's kind of your biggest success. So, yeah.
What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you on stage?
I've had a few. I was playing in Colombia one time, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a guy came up on stage, he punched me in the head and smashed the turntable. And look, I have no idea where this came from. It was just, it turns out he was on acid, and he and his friend were like hanging out dancing. His friend got on a table and was dancing and fell off and got hurt and got taken out of the club. The guy that punched me decided that it was my music that had made this happen. And that I had hurt his friend. So he was avenging his friend by getting his way up on stage and punching me in the head and breaking the turntable to make the music stop, because the music and me had hurt his friend. So, I mean, once I figured out what had happened, and they, I got told the story later after the show, what had happened, made sense. And I didn't feel so bad. I thought, I can understand that. I can see that could happen. You're having a bad trip and that happens. But, I've had other times where I was playing in Hawaii one time, and all of a sudden the CDJ just dropped and came unconnected. The cables fell out. It was in a club where they used to have turntables. So the cutout in the DJ booth was designed for turntables. And so they had the CDJ balanced just precariously over the hole. It didn't really fit perfectly. And so it got loose and
Oh,
dropped through the hole. The cables came out, the music stopped, and the CDJ's like down inside the booth somewhere, and they had to fish it out. So yeah, I've had just a few different things happen.
you mentioned traveling to different countries. Have you ever visited a country far enough away, like you mentioned Colombia, I believe, where you were surprised that people actually knew all of your music when you showed up to play there?
Yes.
Is that kind of a surprising, like, I came here to play, but I don't think they know who I am over here, but they're booking me. And you get there and they know, like, they're singing every song along with the tracks you're playing. Like, whoa, does that happen quite frequently?
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate. Yeah, most of the time where I've played, even like I've played in Siberia, in Russia. I've played in Kazakhstan. I've played in just like some really, obscure places. That, like playing in Moscow, that's a normal place, but Siberia, that where there was no streets, it was just mud because it gets frozen over, and they just use the streets from frozen. That's how they drive on. But yeah, 99% of the time when I arrive somewhere, fortunately, they're coming because they know what they're going to hear. There are the odd times where you get booked for a show and it's just the venue and I are not the right fit. Where like in China in the early years when I was first touring in China, they used to just book DJs off the DJ Top 100 because again it was before the internet was really a big thing, and so and these clubs, they were branded clubs and they'd be doing it in partnership with cigarette companies, for example. It was always cigarette companies, in fact. And so you'd show up and the sponsor, the cigarette companies, they looked at the DJ Top 100 and they would only allow the clubs to book people off of that. But they didn't know what your sound was. You were just number 22, and you were number 22 off the DJ Mag Top 100. So you were suitable to book. So the club would book you and no idea what you were going to play. And so, yeah, I'd go into a club, and they just wanted really commercial house music. That's what they liked. And that's what the people came to hear. And they would be standing, like, for example, this one club I played, they had no dance floor. They had these pedestal tables, and people would just sit there and they get a bottle of whiskey delivered because that was, you'd show off that you could buy a bottle of whiskey, and those people got to be on the dance floor. But it had all these tables, these little round tables. So they'd have like 2 or 3 friends. They'd be doing shots and eating watermelon, and they just wanted to sit and listen to house, like just pop house music. And I started playing, and I just looked at the crowd and I said, this is just going to die. This is the worst possible pairing. They do not want the music that I'm playing. And I have nothing. And this is back when I was playing vinyl. I have nothing in my record box. It wasn't like in the past where you could be in your hotel room even and find out about this club and then go, like download stuff. It was just nothing. And I just look at them and I felt like saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know what you want. I know what I've got. And so, yeah, that's happened a few times.
Does dance music sound better at night?
Yes. Dance music
Your
sounds
thoughts
better.
on that?
Because there's lights and visuals. And we all look better in the dark. Especially me these days. I like
You
it in the
look
dark.
great. What are you talking about?
And so that's the thing, is I think we feel better. In the dark, whether it's a festival or a nightclub. Also, it's later in the evening, like you begin partying, and it's awkward to party in the daytime. So yeah, I think all of those things, and also, yeah, with the music in tandem with visuals and lighting, and yeah, it just works better at night or the dark.
Totally can understand that. I used to bring my lighting gear to film in nightclubs, and the promoters would be like, you got to turn those lights down or you got to turn them off because nobody's going to want to dance, because people don't want to see themselves, or they're shy because they don't want other people to see them dancing. They want to be able to let loose and be free. And I get that, but I would tell him like, well, these aren't $5,000 cameras, so if I have no lighting, they won't be able to see anything. And it's like, how about I just unplug your speakers and you throw a show? Like that's the equivalent of what you're doing to me. It's like, yeah, the DJ can hear in the headphones and that's great. He's rocking it out, but nobody in the audience is going to hear. That's what you're literally doing to me. But I can understand that from a perspective that yes, you get the visual element. It is the hair comes down, the let loose comes out, the partying comes into play. It's fun. Do you sometimes ever get fed up with making and playing music? And what do you do to deal with that when you hit a roadblock or hit I wouldn't say writer's block. What's the term I would? Is there a term in music that it's a musical block or a music block or a producer's block instead of writer's block?
Yeah,
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's writer's block, and
Writer's block,
it happens to me constantly. I haven't put anything out for at least a year now because I haven't been happy with anything I've done. I don't know. It's just not gelling. But that's the production side of it. The DJing side, and maybe it's because I started as a DJ. I began as a DJ that I never get tired of that. And if I do, like if I ever like look at my tracks and I'm like, I know what the problem is. I don't have new records. I got to go record shopping. And so that's one of the reasons that I do my radio show is because a lot of times people become lazy and they just go through the promos that they're sent. But I still go to Beatport. I still go onto Juno and I crate dig to find tracks. I don't just rely on the promos I get because there's new producers that you've never heard of. There's tracks new labels that I may not be on their mailing list or something. And so going in and crate digging, just going in and going to these shops and going through music, that's what's inspiring for me. And as soon as I do that, and I've got some new music, I'm inspired again, and that's it. And then I'm ready for the next show. And so again, and it's funny, like just before we were doing this, I was going through the tracks that I currently have and then going, you know what, as I want a little bit more of this sound. So I was on Beatport. So there you go.
Awesome. Your take on the buzzword metaverse. Have you been asked to do anything in the metaverse, or are you looking to do anything in the metaverse? Have you gone down that pathway yet?
I am sitting on the sidelines and watching for now. I'm going to wait and see how things develop. I honestly, I think it's going to be absolutely incredible, but it's in its infancy right now. And it's new. And so I'm waiting it out because like people jumped on the whole NFT thing and everybody thought, I've got to do something NFT involved. I've got to make my NFT. And I, whether it's music or visuals or whatever. And then people went crazy on it. And some of it was good, some of it not so good. We've seen what happened. And so I think the metaverse will be phenomenal. Just like when the World Wide Web started out, it was pretty clunky and it wasn't so good. People thought, oh, what's going to happen? But now look, it's ubiquitous. You cannot live without being on the internet. We're doing this on the backbone of the internet. I mean, this is what it is now. So the metaverse will become the next. That's where we'll exist within the metaverse, but it's not there yet. And so I'm on the side watching with great interest.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we're getting ready. We have 2 nightclubs that we've soft launched already there. We're getting ready to grand open them hopefully in the next month here. And got a lot planned in there. And we want to be one of those first clunkiers, that starts out never clunky at first. And then progress into version 2 and then version 3. And, and be able to really have something special that is a different, instead of a 2D experience online, having a 3D interactive experience. I think you're right. It's going to just get better and better and better as the developers get into it and more people demand. Supply and demand. The more demand, the more, more companies are going to put money into it and do things. I mean, I was working with a guy, he goes in and he could map a actual venue, then let you go in and be a participant in that venue. But what he was going to do is I could put you in a green screen room and bring not an avatar, bring you like a 3D image of your body playing on the decks, and I could walk up and look at you. I could tell if you had spinach in your teeth. I could look at it and say, oh, that's
Whoa.
the color of his eyes, and really see you because there'd be 3 cameras on you, and we would basically import that on the stage. I could put you I could put you in the Hollywood Bowl if I wanted to. If I 3D map the Hollywood, I could go and sit up in the audience, way up here in the audience. I could go right up and be up on stage and be like dancing on stage next to you if I wanted to. That's future for that's probably 5 or 6 years out, but
Dude,
I've seen it in action.
Yeah, see that when we get to that, that's just going to be a game changer.
It's almost holographic in nature, but in a virtual environment, you know.
Yeah.
But you got guys like Marshmello, 12 million people are going and viewing them in Fortnite playing a live set. When are you ever going to have 12 million people in a concert venue or in a venue space like that would be able to kind of be walking around and see them from all different angles? I think that's something I think that is just huge. And I'd love to have a venue where, we could have 50,000 people, all in, and they could all be walking around and intermingling with each other. And you have a virtual bar where they could buy virtual drinks and virtual merchandise and click and go to our websites. Well, we're working on it. But on that note, is there anything else you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know before we let you go, Christopher?
No, I just really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you. And I want to remind everybody, this Saturday, December 3rd at Aura in Seattle. I'm super excited to be back in Seattle. And so, yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys on the dance floor.
Definitely. It's going to be a great time. I don't live too far from there. My girlfriend has a house. You could literally throw a marshmallow and hit. I won't say throw a rock. That sounds bad. Throwing stones is not good. I just figured it's something that wouldn't break glass. Throw a marshmallow and hit the windows over there. So we'll be stopping by, saying hi. Thank you again for coming on the DJ Sessions. We will be following up with you. Where's the best place for people to find out more information about you and what you got going on?
We talked about it before. Go to my website, ChristopherLawrence.com. And then from there, you can find all my socials, and you can go to SoundCloud and all the other, exciting stuff.
Awesome. ChristopherLawrence.com. Christopher, again, thank you for coming on the DJ Sessions. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Darren. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. On that note, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on Meta, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're out there, but all of our links are at our website, thedjsessions.com. There's over 600 news stories published every month, exclusive mixes, live interviews, our virtual reality nightclub information is there, even our mobile app. But you're going to have to go there and find it out at thedjsessions.com. I'm Darren, coming to you from the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington. That's Christopher Lawrence coming all the way in from Los Angeles, California for the DJ Sessions. And remember, on the DJ Sessions, the music never stops.